That's
Yes.
gonna be
Before we start, we also want to introduce our host. Today we have Michael Dunn. He's not here today, but he's here in spirit. And we
yes.
have William Bertiz. He should be here a little bit later,
Well,
but
we can neither confirm or deny that,
right.
but he say he on the way.
So
You know how we do.
but Terrell today he has a guest, an amazing guy. I actually ran into him in San Diego in the circuit, especially if you're in real estate. You really want to get to know this guy, an amazing guy. He's also really grounded in this community. So I'll have Terrell take it away and introduce
Yes,
our
yes,
special
yes,
guest
yes.
today.
So our special, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Dimitri Booker Jr. He's a principal partner of Elevate Commercial, a full-service, socially responsible commercial real estate firm that has partnered with like 1,393 workforce housing, multifamily units, 307 mobile home lots, 100, 113,000 square feet of retail and medical office
Mm,
building and going. Dimitri previously served as director of acquisition for the Comunidad Realty Partners,
Yes.
also CPR, the abbreviations, and and was directly involved in the acquisition and disposition of over 2,000 multifamily units. His roles included deal sourcing, underwriting, contract management, and closing efforts of the firm's transaction pipeline, as well as providing growth strategy for new markets, which led to over 150 million, right,
Yes.
in
wow.
acquisitions in 2016, 2017, 2018. During this time frame, the firm's footprint expanded from Texas to Arizona, California, Georgia, Florida. Dimitri's ability to quickly underwrite deals is a testament to his knowledge of core multi-family metrics. And today, he remains closely aligned with the firm and strategic partner. But not only that, he's aligned to the community too. He's a community leader, a board member on several nonprofits, outreach, mentorship, young students, and athletes. Man, the list
Yeah,
goes
that's
on.
a lot.
I mean, I'm gonna stop
Oh,
it there. So,
what I would what I would abbreviate it with is my goals for 2020.
man,
It's this guy right here.
exactly.
So,
I mean,
so
let's welcome Dimitri Booker
yes,
to the
sir.
show.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Yes,
Dimitri
sir.
Booker.
Thank you. I
Man,
appreciate it.
I just how do you find time for it all? Like, just tell me that.
It's it's tough. The main thing is just focus.
Yeah.
Focus, focus, focus. I even tell my 4-year-old daughter,
Mm-hmm.
Ciara, focus,
Yeah.
and it's just having extreme focus, and just having a reason why,
Like,
and I'm just here to elevate our communities
ooh,
and
love
create
that.
opportunities.
Great spin segue.
I need
Elevate.
a tagline or like you guys.
Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you don't need a
I gotta
tagline
work
with
on
a
my.
name with a name like Elevate. You know what I'm saying? With a name like Elevate, you
That's
just
right.
elevate,
I,
elevate,
I
elevate,
gotta
elevate.
tell folks from other areas, hey, don't hate. We're here to elevate.
Ah, that, okay.
That's your tagline right there. Don't hate, you got to
So
elevate.
I'm gonna give you guys a little backstory. So me and Dimitri, we first met back when I was doing work with Urban League Young Professionals, and we
Absolutely.
did the Black Land Matters event. And you came out and you gave a ton of knowledge for free, and that was it really resonated with me and a lot of people there. And I was like, man, I'm gonna have to connect with this brother. And throughout, we kept in touch and connecting, and I hope there's many more sessions that we get to connect and bring just different information and knowledge to the people. So I'm looking, and I was teasing you earlier. I was like, man, I'm mad at you. I'm looking at Elevate right now, looking at the services that it includes, everything from property management and so on, and then the economic and social equity. But I'm not going to go through the list. Just tell me a little bit about the services and then some of the economic and social equity things that you guys have been doing, or it seems like you're getting into here, and how that blends in together.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. I mean, Elevate Commercial, again, we pride ourselves on being socially impactful investors. And what that essentially means is if we're either buying housing,
Yeah.
mobile home parks, apartments, etc., or we're buying retail centers or commercial real estate.
Hmm.
And so in reference to housing, what we call, our initiatives, our social impact initiatives is number one, I'm from Fresno, California, grew up in Palmdale, California. I had no idea what STEM was or any of this stuff was, right? Coding. And
Hmm.
a lot of friends I went to college with,
Yeah.
they were well so far ahead of me. I was playing catch up all 4 years at Cal Poly.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
so what I wanted to do with some of the housing and properties that we have is create opportunities for kids that are from similar backgrounds to have opportunities to learn. So we talk about STEM,
Yeah.
our STEAM. We includes art now,
Yeah.
science, technology, math, science. We also look at coding classes, and so
Mhm.
working closely with Street Code in the Bay Area, and have a lot of friends and family that go to the Street Code coding courses. So the main thing is youth engagement, making sure the
Mhm.
youth get access to these resources that could change the narrative of their lives and their families.
Yeah.
Number two is just job. I don't call it job placement, but career placement. So we work with our properties, local employers, and saying, hey, if we could vouch for someone from our community,
Mhm.
are you willing to fast track them to employment and career opportunities?
Yeah.
Because we could vouch for their character.
Okay.
Number three is healthy living, with playgrounds, outdoor activity opportunities.
Okay.
Um, Number four, some of our properties, there's a Hispanic culture, so we ESL classes,
Mhm.
or financial literacy. It's an ever growing component of our business that we're focused on, and we feel that if you take care of your residents, I
Mhm.
don't call them tenants, I call them residents. You
Mhm.
take care of your residents, and they create a community. Um, they're happy, they're gonna grow, they're gonna save money, but also number two, we're gonna have higher collections. All of our properties,
Mhm.
we're collecting 98, 99% of our gross income.
98?
98 to 99
What
percent
what's
plus.
usually the average?
In the mobile home park industry, you're like in the 80s, eighty
Really?
Yeah,
percent, and
yeah.
then in apartments, you're probably in the low 90s. So
Man.
so it translates to people caring. They feel that we care. They understand that we do care,
Uh-huh.
and so it helps with collections. It helps with communication. I have an open dialogue with a lot of residents. Surprisingly, most people who own properties don't want to talk to residents.
Uh-huh.
um, I talk to them, because I want to know their feedback,
Right.
and I've learned that from mentors that their feedback matters. If you don't understand your resident, or in some cases your customer, you'll be out of business.
Man, I mean that 90% is impressive. I can't even collect 90% of the money that my own family owe me. So like, I don't know how you doing that.
Well, one of the things, Dimitri, that I ran into you in the community, especially being a real estate practitioner, is one thing I was impressed by is that you built your business around socially responsible processes in your business, which is kind of like the triple bottom line of any business that is built. And one of the things that you do is that you really get on the ground when it comes to being socially responsible, especially when you're giving back to the community. Now, what I would love to know is this. Let's start back. Let's start from the basics. Is what tell the people a little bit about our audience about you and what made you get into real estate.
Yeah, it started back when I was 6, 7 years old. My dad bought a house in a small town called Roseman, California,
Mhm.
and I just, we were taking care of the lawn, working in the backyard. I was like, Dad, why are we doing all this work? He's like, because we own this house. We're taking care of property. And that stuck with me.
Mhm.
And then when I would go visit my grandparents, they own a few properties. They would buy a house, live there for 10, 15 years, and buy another house. So they were from Los Angeles near USC to San Fernando, Pacoima area, to
Mhm.
Palmdale, Lancaster. And then I would go visit, other friends and family, and they did not own house property. And so I realized there's a big difference between the two. So at an early age, I said, hey, I'm going to focus on owning real estate. I don't know what it means, but I want to own real estate.
Mhm.
And so when I got to Cal Poly, one of my classmates was 20, who was at the time 18 years old. Was like, yeah, I'm buying two properties in San Luis Obispo. I'm like, two properties? I don't even have $5. And
Mhm.
so I was like, so I told myself I'm going to hang out with him.
Mhm.
And it just started off hanging out with people who own property that came from families who own real estate.
Uh-huh.
And I just figured it out. I just started reading every book I could get my hands on. And at that time I was broke, so I got creative and learned how to borrow against credit cards and all that stuff you do. Buy your first home. I
Right.
did it, and
Nice.
building your credit, borrow against credit cards, borrowing money from friends,
Right.
scraped up enough money to buy a property.
Yeah. And in this industry, I love hearing those stories. Why? Is because a lot of people who want to get into this business or want to get into real estate always think you have to start off with a ton of money. And one of the things is that you realize that most of the people who are very successful in real estate, like yourself, started off with very little. You just know now the key word here is leverage.
Mhm.
You
Yes.
know, so one of the things that I always want any real estate practitioner to just express on is when it comes to leverage and leveraging, what does that mean to, and how would you explain that to the people who want to get into real estate,
Yeah.
especially in the commercial space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one thing I'll add to that, like when you're explaining it, I mean, because it's one thing to buy a house, it's another thing to buy commercial property.
Right.
You see the price tag on
Right.
commercial, like how in the, I mean,
It's actually easier
I wouldn't even know
'cause
where
the
to
bank don't
begin.
care about
Like,
you; they
oh
care
my
about the property.
goodness. So yeah, tell us like, I mean, I would be really scared to like try to buy some commercial property, and
True.
two, I wouldn't even know where to start. Uh, I don't know what anything first thing about leveraging this to that to get commercial property. So tell us, what would you tell somebody who's interested but has never done it and needs that lesson?
Yeah, number one, and I have this conversation with my sister. She's 17. Is you gotta, you know, and she laughed now and said, you gotta, I joke around, so you gotta watch your chicken, right? Like
Yeah.
Marshawn. But you gotta take care of your money.
Take care of your
And,
chicken.
and you gotta pay attention to the numbers. Down to when I go to the store, the grocery store, and I buy, something from the grocery store, I mentally calculate how much that's gonna cost plus tax in my head before I go to the register, and I add it up. And I play this game with myself. So starting off just having a fascination for numbers, but number two is just looking at commons. We all have this natural common sense that, especially our culture, we're creative. That's why we're so successful in all these different areas of business and also entertainment and sports. But it's just a common sense of looking at things and saying, hey, I know that this person wants to sell. I don't have the money because, well, usually you don't have the money, but I know they need to sell, or there's a reason why they want to sell. I have a vision. So money matters, but not necessarily. Credit matters, but not necessary. It's the creativeness. It's the structure. Using that creative mind to say, hey, I'm gonna buy your property, but hey, I got a better structure than rather than someone with a lot of money buying this. I have a better idea. How about I pay you X price, maybe a little more money, but you own or finance this property, and I'll give you 10,000 instead of 200,000. But because you're doing this, I'm going to do X, Y, Z to this property. So if you ever take it back from me, if I don't perform, it's in a better situation than today. So I just learned that I had to get creative, and not get creative, but use the creativeness that I naturally had to structure deals. And I took that and study people who are buying real estate. I would get on Google and Google this person, that person, and really just start studying how they structure deals. And I'll read articles. To this day, I'll read articles every day about how deals were purchased. And I just took that knowledge of watching other people do it, especially when you see someone who's like, hey, I know him. No offense, but I know I'm smarter than this guy. And he's buying property. So I'm gonna be humble and listen and
Right.
learn, and then I'm gonna go and try to do it myself. And
Right.
I'm not scared to fail. I want to, if all they say is no, so might as well
Nah.
throw it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but don't you get scared of the numbers? Like, that's,
Y-
those some big numbers.
Yeah, I mean it's I still to this day sometimes sit back, and when I'm in the day to day, I don't think about the numbers.
Uh,
But when I sit back and say, wow, I gotta raise 2.25 million in a week, and we're closing in 10 days. You start thinking about, man, I'm from Fresno, from Fresno, California, and we're lucky to have 200 bucks in our account,
like,
right? So,
Yeah.
but I also start looking at it and saying, if you, I've been blessed to have the creative
uh,
mind to structure deals, and people want to be a part of it, and then also people with money want to be a part of it.
like,
And once I found one person that said, hey, I like what you're about, I want to invest with you,
like,
and then they made money, and then they call their friends, and they call their friends, and before you know it, you build a confidence. So I think it's just first knowing that someone's believing what you're thinking, your idea. So if you want to open up a hair salon, you want to buy your building, don't be scared. Like, go try to buy it, and also find people like myself. Say, hey, Dimitri, I want to open my hair salon, but I want to buy the building because I know the value of owning real estate. I'm going to show you how. I may
mhm,
partner with you. I may refer you to resources. I'm going to help you structure the deal for sure. So I just say find people who has the knowledge, and ask them for advice, and those who have advice, be open to share, and then just don't be scared to ask. Just ask the question. I mean,
mhm,
the worst thing they could say is no.
mhm.
That's
and,
true.
and that's the thing I got
That's
over
very
that
true.
fear of hearing no, because we grew up in a community where you hear no a lot. No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no, no,
right.
no.
So true.
The banks don't want to give me a loan and all that.
Right.
And so I realized I better master how to get people to owner finance until the banks start giving me loans.
Right.
Like one of the things that that blew my mind because I've been practicing in real estate since 2004, stayed in kind of the residential space. But when I was stepping into commercial, somebody told me, and I really didn't understand it. Right? They told me read this book by Robert Kiyosaki and play this game, the Cash Flow 101.
Yes.
And when doing that, it just blew my mind because from what they basically is saying is that the money and the deals are found in the contracts, how you write up a contract, and it
Yes.
can be so creative in financing deals based upon how you write up this contract. You can buy a property for zero money.
Hmm.
You know, so when you say that, it just brings back like, whoa, yeah, that's so true, and you're actually doing this. You know, so I mean, some of the things that I would love for you to touch on is what are some of the creative ways that because a lot of people want to get into commercial real estate, but the main thing I always see is that, oh, whoa, the sticker shock. You know, it's like $2 million, $3 million is what I'm going to be asking for this property. This is not more than what I can ever make in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, so what are some of the ways in which people can creatively finance properties?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I like to share is when you see properties 3 million, or in some cases we see, we're doing a $44 million development right now.
Wow.
And the reality of it is if a bank says I'm not going to give you a loan, it's a reason. And then if you could get financing, then there's a reason why. It's the residents or if it's commercial, your tenants are going to be paying the rent.
Right.
So I just look at it logically and don't look at the numbers. I just say, hey, we're buying a property that closes in 10 days for 6 million, and it brings in about $60,000 a month. The mortgage will be about 22. The expenses are about 10 to 12. So I look at it logically and say, well, the tenants in this building is paying the rent.
Right.
So as long as it makes logical sense, right? If you're gonna be negative cash flow because you're gonna be paying out of money every month,
Right.
probably doesn't make sense.
Right.
But as far as to answer your question, as far as creative financing,
Mm-hmm.
is you know find the small deals are the deals you could be the most creative. So that $1 to $3 million deals,
Right.
even less than $1 million, there's a lot of opportunity
Yeah.
because you don't have these large institution or large commercial groups buying them. So
Mm-hmm.
they're usually just regular folks like us buying them, and so therefore you could play in that space. And so those $1 to $3 million deals, you could find someone who says, "Hey, I own this property. I just don't want the headache." And if you could solve their problem, then that's the way. Hey, I know you have this headache, and I've done deals where I said, "Look, I'm gonna take over your payments.
Right.
I'm gonna take this headache out of your hand, and then in a year from now, I'm gonna give you $100,000. But you don't have this headache today." And some people are thinking so focused on, I don't want this headache,
Right.
that they don't think about this guy's not putting any money down, or he's spending very little money for this property.
Right.
So just I would say just focus on problem solving. If you could solve someone's problem in real estate, there's an opportunity to make some money.
That's so true, man. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
That kind of like solidifies a lot of things that I've heard. Is like real estate is mainly buying somebody else's problem, and then once you can actually understand that you can deal with that problem and take over that problem, you'll be successful in real estate. So when you hearing that from you is kind of like, yeah, that I mean, it's so true.
Yeah.
You know. So we just had our guest.
Like, look who
William.
snuck in the back door like a smooth criminal.
William Bertiz, the money
Ty-
guy.
I know.
I'm bad, man.
I'm bad.
I'm dangerous, and I could be a thriller. Now let's make history.
Let's make history. Let's make history. Keep making them interest rates drop. We can make some real history.
Yeah, and history is going on right now.
That's right. That's right. So if you want to introduce yourself, I mean, as the guest host, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to just quickly do it, but I'm guest co-host William Bertiz. I'm so glad we have Dimitri
Yes.
Yep.
here.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to more of what you have to say about, building up these communities, especially
Right.
when it comes to multi-family housing.
Man.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
I want to take it back to because I really think your whole Elevate commercial and what you're doing and your identity is so unique to me. Like with the economic and social equity, a lot of people would say, is there any money to be made in social equity? Like, or is that just a personal passion project of yours, or do you believe we could have both things in the same spaces?
Yeah, it's a great question. You can. At first, I didn't realize that you can make money, and in fact, a lot more money.
Really?
Doing good. Yeah. For
Okay.
example, I'm doing a loan right now with Fannie Mae, the federal government, and they're giving us, to keep it simple, 0.15% lower interest rate,
Hmm.
but they're also reimbursing us $10,000 towards our third-party costs, like inspection reports, property
Mhm.
inspections, for us having lease protection clauses. And when I saw the list of requirements, like that's what I do anyway,
Hmm.
and I was like, I qualify.
Awesome.
And so,
Nice.
and then I called, I was introduced to one of the head of the mobile home park industry of Fannie Mae, and we talked for an hour, and he's like, I want to, as you guys build your platform, I want to, do a video with you guys and grow with you guys, and because you are one of the few that's actually doing what we want.
Mhm.
So there's money, and there's cheaper investors, like money, like so when you raise cash to buy a deal, it's usually called equity,
Mhm.
and then when you get a loan, it's called debt. So the debt's cheaper, or the mortgage is cheaper, the rates are lower, but also there's social responsible money out there now
Yeah.
that's actually a lot more feasible than going to friends and family or other people. So there's a
Mm.
balance between the two. So there's definitely it makes it more, you could do good, you can have
Right.
impact, but you can make good money.
Right. I'm gonna hit you up with another idea. We're gonna try
Okay.
to iron out here, but
And I just want to clear up something. When he says mobile homes, Dimitri's not just talking about a mobile home. You're talking about a mobile home park.
apologize. Yeah, mobile home parks.
Right.
I've been told I'm probably one of the few brothers in the U.S. buying mobile home parks.
But that's the thing, you know what? That's a huge movement that I mean, you've been in it for a while, and I heard it from you, and I was kind of confused until I started researching it, and I'm like, that's a huge movement now. That's a huge movement across the United States of mobile home parks because it's so much more lucrative
Right.
when it comes to real estate because it's just numbers you're playing with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, the real estate is so lucrative, you know?
Yeah, it's I mean, bigger than lucrative. It's the most affordable housing there is without subsidy.
more affordable than tiny homes.
If there's enough tiny homes out there. but yeah, I mean it actually is in some instances, but it's the most affordable housing because your lot, they call it lot rent. Your rent for your lot, the resident own their mobile home,
But
or they rent it in some cases, but then their lot rent in some cases are $300, $400, $500, and they have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that they live in, and they
really,
pay the lot rent, and they own their mobile home, and so it allows us to go into like primary markets like Pittsburgh and Boise and we're looking at a deal in San Diego, and you could buy it and it makes sense, and then we also buy apartments and then that's workforce housing and creating affordability. So there's a lot of benefits and a lot of good stuff for that.
okay, I like it. Well, I mean, we gotta pay the bills, right?
Oh yeah, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. You're listening to Let's Talk About It.
Oh, you hit straight to the point today. Usually you have
The Windsor Village Church family presents the Commission Reunion Tour, Sunday, April 12, 7:30 p.m. at the Kingdom Builders Center, 6011 West Orm Drive. It's an all-white praise party featuring Grammy-nominated gospel sensation Commission, featuring Fred Hammond and Marvin Sapp. General admission $30, preferred seating $75. Tickets now at KingdomBuilders.com. That's KingdomBuilders.com. The Commission Reunion Tour featuring Fred Hammond and Marvin Sapp from the Windsor Village Church family, April 12, 7:30 p.m. at KBC. See you there.
It's going to be the biggest concert of the year. Chase Spivey Productions presents the Gigantic Gospel Concert featuring Rance Allen and the Rance Allen Group. Tim Rogers and the Felt, Lisa Knowles and the Brown Singers, Todd Delaney, Roy and the Revelations, Kurt Carr and the Kurt Carr Singers, and more. And hosted by Jonathan Slocum. April 5th at Greater Grace Houston. Tickets available at all neighborhood HEB stores and Eventbrite.com. It's the Gigantic Gospel Concert 2020.
Hi, everyone. This is Maria Antoinette. I'm excited to release my latest single, Loving You, by the amazing Minnie Riperton, featuring me on the harp with help from my friends of the jazz fusion band Fatburger. Listen, reminisce, and let this song take you back in the day as this release fuses the beautiful tones of the harp with smooth jazz. Loving You releases March 20th on all digital platforms. And you can follow me on social media at Maria Antoinette. and on godradio1.com.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. We are with our guest today, Mr. Dimitri Booker Jr. Can't forget that.
Thank you.
We were having a discussion a lot about what he's doing with Elevate, his commercial real estate company, and some of the positive things that they're doing in the community. So I just walked in kind of late, but 20 minutes late.
No, don't worry. You
Nobody's
C-
watching the time.
CP time.
you may not always come when we start, but you always on time.
Always on time.
So here's what's on my mind, Dimitri, and I got some other stuff we're gonna get into. Hopefully, if we get time. I see how you built your identity and the background around what you've done. And I know when we first had a connection when we were meeting, we were both about community, workforce development, youth development, like opportunity, giving back opportunity. And I see that so much within, not only within your values, with the mission, with the company. And I know why I got into it, because of the struggle of growing up how I grew up.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of made it my life's mission, that anything that I do, in no matter what job I'm in, I'm going to go back and give back to the community in some shape, form, or fashion. What led you to kind of really make this part of the value and mission and vision of your company and surround yourself with this type of impact?
Yeah, it really starts off, I was born in Fresno, raised in Fresno, then moved to Palmdale. And, growing up, we didn't see, going to a hometown buffet was like Christmas, right? Going to, a buffet was like, that's a big thing, and or Sizzler or whatnot. So, when I got to college, I didn't realize what wealth was until I saw some of my classmates at Cal Poly, and then I saw how they were sometimes acting different than they were humble about it. So I at that point I realized, I want to build something, but I also want to build it my way. And it took a while to figure out who I was, how I was going to build it. And then once I realized I could be who I am, engage with community, but also build something for my family, it became important, and it just started to snowball from there. And then it really, I got involved with Southeast San Diego, and from there it was just more like I'll sit down and just kind of fill out what's going on. Then I saw the developers taking advantage of our communities, and I saw, it just a lot of the stuff that was going on, right? And so I realized I could build my business, but also start joining community boards, so where I could actually be the checkmate for a lot of these developers and investors and whatnot, and say, hey, this is not equitable for our community, and I'm striving to learn and gather this information, so therefore I could get ahead of them and hold them accountable for equity.
Man.
You was part of. You said you got involved in Southeast San Diego and some of the development opportunities there. What organizations did you join, or meetings did you go to kind of figure out what's going on with the community?
Yeah, I started off with the Diamond BID, Diamond Business Assessment District, and then from there, I realized a lot of things we weren't aware of because they're at the planning group level. So then I was like, all right, well, talking to Kim Marlborough, I ended up joining the Cholas Creek Planning Group. So therefore, I can see everything going on, and when a developer or someone's presenting and it's not equitable, I call it out, and so I've become really that voice in that space, is saying, hey, if you're going to try to offer, I call it 360 deals to a lot of our community, I'm going to call it out and block it and sit down with our pastors, our property owners, or whoever, and say, hey, this is not a good deal. Let me help you structure this better. Therefore, we can make sure that your family's set up, not their family.
And one of the things that I was impressed, because I did attend a couple of meetings with the Diamond Business Group, and tell them a little bit more about what the Diamond Business Group does in Southeast San Diego. I mean, because I've seen where you also give business loans to businesses to actually do improvements to the business and uplift the community. So tell them a little bit more about what the Diamond Business Group, because you're one of the founders, if I'm not correct.
Not one of the founders, just a board member, and also I chair the Economic Development Committee.
Nice.
And so number one is working with small local businesses and saying, hey, you're in a position where you could grow, historically you may not been someone that's been sought out for financing to grow, and every business, the lifeline of a business is actually working capital. And so the whole key is how do we help these local businesses get working capital so therefore they could grow and expand. And people talk about gentrification and what's happening with gentrification. And my response is, hey, if you're a local business, let's get you capital so you could grow. So when this market does expand, you could capture it and be that local homegrown business. And then if it's housing, we want to make sure that you own your home. So therefore you can't be gentrified out. And so going back to the business help, we help the businesses get loans. City of San Diego and different organizations that are aligned are lenders that help businesses get cheaper capital or access to capital so they can expand and grow. And businesses that normally wouldn't be lendable with banks for any given reason, there's still redlining going on. There's still all this stuff going on with the banking world. But at least it's a path to create opportunities for these businesses. There's also technical assistance. I get it. We even got so far deep that I'm getting involved with lease negotiations. When a developer builds mixed-use properties, I reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to help you lease your whole ground floor to make sure that it's minority-owned businesses that are here. Make sure you give them the proper tenant improvements. Make sure you give them the right lease rate so therefore they can have a chance to grow. Because a lot of times in our communities, we're taken advantage of. When we go lease a space for our first salon, our hair, or whatever we're gonna do,
Yeah.
we get the worst terms ever. We get a crazy high deposit. We get double the rent rate. We get no tenant improvements. We go out of business.
Is that because you're saying most of these people going to the business just aren't aware of what really should happen with these deals when it comes to renting out a building or leasing a building or space? So what you're saying is you can have, I want to be clear with this.
Yeah.
You're saying you can have two businesses coming at the same time. And let's say one's a nail salon that's not owned by predominantly black people.
Yeah.
And then let's say you have a barber shop that's right next door. They all come at the same time. You're saying that the property owner could ask for a higher lease and ask for higher rent with the, let's say, barber shop compared to the nail salon?
Yeah, it happens. And it's not done directly. It's, oh, well, I saw your credit, or you don't have that much money in the bank, or who's your financial backer. Well, I'll lease to you, but it's going to be this. And that business is like, I'm just excited to open up a business. I'll take it. And I'm like, no. Hold on. Like, this is not normal what they're giving you. So don't jump into this because you're going to be out. You're so excited to be in business, which is a blessing, but don't put yourself out of business from day one. And so we have to stop those businesses and give them guidance and help them understand what's normal, because we all know we didn't grow up opening business. Well, some of us have, but we all didn't grow up around it. So certain cultures grew up around us. They understand the basic terms and structures, and we don't. So we have to protect those folks and give them guidance, so therefore they have the right setup.
Well, there was once upon a time a little small location called Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Tulsa, Greenwood, Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
And there was a point in time where black people did have to open up our own businesses because we knew we couldn't get the help from other cultures.
Absolutely.
And not that we're preaching, separatism, but at the same time, when that happened, it benefited black people because it's like, okay, now we have to open up our own grocery stores or dental offices, movie theaters, all these types of things. And we just did business with people who lived around us. And it seemed, I could be wrong because I was born in the 80s, so I can't tell the time between the 20s and the 80s. But it seems like after Black Wall Street happened, when it was attacked by people who were very angry and jealous of the people who were growing that community, it seemed like there's been a like a lull, or not that many black businesses opening up and creating communities around the country.
Yeah.
There may be certain pockets, but it just didn't seem like it's part of our culture. Can you speak a little about that, like maybe why that isn't the case?
Yeah, well, it created fear, right? And not to go too much into history, but I talk to family members and we have deep conversations and about starting businesses and being entrepreneurs, and a lot of it's fear. And so how do we overcome that fear? And like, I have a 17-year-old sister, and every day I'm walking her through of just mindset, constantly changing her mindset, thinking in a different way, so that way she doesn't have that fear that holds her back from being an entrepreneur. And so that entrepreneur spirit was kind of taken from a lot of us, and it's now coming back. And so you have Afrotech, right, with Blavity, what Morgan's doing up there. You have Chris Lyons in the Bay Area with his Futures Fund. So you have this movement in black tech up in the Bay Area, and it's growing nationally. But real estate is coming back. Entrepreneurship is coming back. And I think if we continue to support each other, and not just support like, oh, that's great, I'm gonna like you on Instagram, but actually like I'm gonna go out my way to go buy something from you because I'm supporting you, because I know how hard you put your work in. You put so much work and love and sweat and tears to have this business. We're gonna support you, and I think that's the key. Is we're now in a movement where we support each other, and it's like Terrell just refinanced his house. Like, man, that's dope.
Right.
You know, and he's bought with an escrow on a property. Dope. How can I help? Do you need vendors? Like that's kind of the culture that that's the movement that's happening right now, and I think it's just getting started again.
And one of the things that I also want to touch on, because I was really impressed, because I remember when I first learned about the new tax code, which is the OZ, Opportunity Zone.
Yeah.
And I know it's way above my head, you know, a little bit, and I had to go dig deep because it was affected, it was focused more on the Southeast community. And I reached out to a couple of city managers, and one of the city managers told me to come to your group, which is the Diamond Business Group, and meet Dimitri. And so sitting at a table and seeing what you're doing, because my concern was that we weren't educating the community about it.
Yes.
But when I came to the table, it kind of like set all fears, because I know one of the things that you did was you set yourself up and the organization up as the gatekeeper, where you bring everybody to the table who can actually make that decision about development, what's coming into the community, different projects, you know, and everybody's here, and then you promote businesses that are coming into the community. So one of the things that I want, because a lot of people still, especially some of our audience might be out there, and we want to encourage our audience to ask questions online too. So you can go to Facebook and ask any questions. Is just explain to them briefly. Don't go into depth, but explain to them briefly what the Opportunity Zone is.
Yeah, so the Opportunity Zone, essentially, it's I mean, keep it really simple. It's designated areas by the government that is in need of economic development, and so there's a tax incentive for those who want to invest into those areas. There's a tax incentive that allows them to defer what's called capital gain tax, and in some cases have it forgiven over time, and by investing into certain areas and doing development. So so basically you're improving properties in areas, and you're incentivized. Kind of what Nipsey Hussle was doing, right, with his property.
Exactly.
And so that's a simple one that everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
He bought a property and he's improving it, and because of that, there's some tax incentives for that.
Right. Right, and then that's one of the things. Now, is there any other program that's similar? Because one of the things that I also was I met is it's kind of nostalgia, because is that when I first started my business, I got a business loan through Axion, which was a small business lender.
Great program.
Yeah, and that's how I was able to start my business. But at the same time too, I saw them at the table, which is they're actually really getting more into the community, and you have them at the table where they're actually teaching people even how to start businesses. Now, is there any other programs out there that you know of where people can, if they want to start a business or in the community, that they can actually access?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's for City of San Diego, LIST has a pending grant called the Big Grant, where a business will get up to $30,000 as a grant for storefront improvement and for POS system and any other furniture or signage that they need. That's something that's been in the queue at the city. We're hoping that they can finally launch it in the near future.
Right.
There's, mission-driven finance. There's about 14 lenders that participate in this lender matrix. That at the bid, we partnered up with the bids and say, hey, these are the 14 different type of loan programs. How can we, and they're all catered to different type of businesses.
Yeah.
I focus on a handful of them that I think is going to have the most impact.
Right.
And so there is a number of those different programs out there that, depending on your business, we could tailor it for you. And we try to simplify it for the business owner and saying, this fits what you're going for. Don't even worry about the other ones. This is the ones that's going to get you to where you need to be.
Right. Right. And
We're going to take a quick. I know we're hitting on some
Yeah,
good
we
things.
about to dive deep. You about to go to the next one already.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. You're listening to Let's Talk About It.
Yes, you need a revocable living trust and other estate planning documents. Sometimes the most important questions when it comes to protecting your home and family assets are the questions you don't ask. The time is now to make decisions that protect your family in the unfortunate event of your death or incapacity. Don't let the probate process cause your family to lose your hard-earned assets and home. The Law Office of Antoinette Middleton is there to help with basic and sophisticated estate planning strategies, which includes special needs trusts for children and disabled adults, asset protection and succession planning for business owners, wills, revocable living trusts, and irrevocable trusts, which protects assets and avoids Medi-Cal estate recovery after your death. The motto at the Law Office of Antoinette Middleton is to plan while you can. Call the Law Office of Antoinette Middleton at 619-235-9501 or email the office at info@lawofficesofam.com. Avoid being stuck with harsh and arbitrary court decisions after your death or disability. Plan today.
When faced with the unexpected loss of a loved one, no one can fully be prepared to know the next steps to take. The emotional toll alone is oftentimes too difficult and hard to bear. At Preferred Cremation and Burial, we're here to help and serve you. Our trusted team of professionals have one goal, and that's to provide you and your family with the very best in quality and service. We'll guide you every step of the way in making informed decisions that truly honor the memory of your loved one. Preferred Cremation and Burial is located at 6406 University Avenue in San Diego. Call our offices today at 619-584-7000 or visit our website at www.preferredcremation.org. Preferred Cremation and Burial offers excellence in service. Call us today at 619-584-7000. We're here to serve you. The Legacy Center Pavilion Theater is announcing its grand opening on Monday, March 30th with a live concert featuring the multi-dove award-winning Christian music icon, guitar aficionado Phil Keaggy.
When I get home, I will see all.
Live in concert at the Legacy Center Pavilion Theater, located at San Diego's newest resort hotel and spa, Legacy International Center, at 875 Hotel Circle South in San Diego. For tickets to see Phil Keaggy live in concert, go to www.legacysd.eventbrite.com. Tickets start at $20. For more information, call 619-782-9139. That's multi-award-winning guitarist Phil Keaggy, live in concert at the Legacy Center Pavilion on Monday, March 30th at 7:30 p.m. For more information, call 619-782-9139. Don't miss it.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. We are with our special guest today, Mr. Dimitri Booker Jr. And before we went to our commercial break, we had Clinton James asking Dimitri a very important question.
Yeah, so I was asking, because the last question was about financing, and you mentioned a couple of small business financing companies out there. Now, one of the things that also is what about somebody who wants to start a business from the ground up? Like the financing part is good, but what about, say they have a business idea and they want to have that concept and they want to start it from concept from start to concept and then implementation. Is there programs out there that you actually a part that you know of, especially in certain communities, that can help people do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in particular, you talk about Southeast San Diego. You have Connect with working with Jacobs, but also there's any of those lenders that I mentioned. They also invest into startup businesses. If there's a true path of profitability, they'll go ahead and lend. But also there's private people like myself and a few friends that actually get behind those businesses and say, hey, this makes sense. You either spend your time looking for money with the bank, or we could collectively put together some money and get you going, and launch you.
That's awesome.
And so that's we need to all start looking back and say, hey, if we collectively could back a good concept, let's back it.
Yeah.
Even if it's you put up $200, you put up 1,000, or someone put up 30,000. But let's just let's support our businesses and help them out.
Like that.
Right.
I love
And
that.
that's something that we were talking about offline. We were kind of discussing, like, all right, we got to get back into our communities of just supporting each other with ventures and so forth. I attended probably like a month or two ago um, a gathering in a community over off of City Heights where a bunch of people got together to discuss gentrification and the what they don't like about it and what some things we can do differently. How do we, essentially get the pride back into our neighborhood? Like, and not necessarily block developers, but what some ways we can. And it's one of the things that's why I was like, why don't we just, get together, put our own money collectively, and just literally buy back the block, right?
Absolutely.
And gentrify our own hood, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would you say would like for people who are passionate about really wanting to reinvest back in their community, but I only have 100. Like, how do we start this movement? How do we start to have these conversations? And what does it look like to put a group together to start to make those things happen?
That's a great question. I think number one, there's, for example, I have friends at Acropolis Real Estate, right? They are the largest residential home. They call them flippers, but I call them redevelopers in San Diego. They're the largest company. Three brothers and Jamil Farouk and Aladdin. And so they're heavily invested in Southeast San Diego right now. And so if someone says, hey, I want to start buying properties and I'm not sure the process, then it may make sense to say, hey, I want to buy this house. Can you guys partner with me and show me the route and show me? And I have some money to invest. I don't have all the money, but I want to learn. That's one route to go about it. But the simple way of looking at it is just take it one deal at a time. Don't look too far ahead. Just focus on that one deal. And whether you partner, be open to partnerships. You got to partner. The most successful companies do partnerships. Number two, you got to trust. You got to do due diligence and make sure you understand your numbers. And then that's the main part of it. And then also it's just making sure that you're willing to believe in somebody. We helped Marshawn Lynch invest into a project in West Oakland. Marshawn, Josh, and so and he did it because he believed in that developer, and because it was important for the kids in Oakland to know what he's doing, and that means a lot to watch him go through that, and so you gotta have your heart behind it to do stuff like that, and also get back and educate people on why you did it, and help people grow, and give people a chance. No matter if they have $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, they all work hard for their money. So respect, if they help you out, respect that dollar as hard-earned money and make sure you pay it back.
Nice, I like that. I love that. Now, and just to segue, one of the things I want you to touch on is you mentioned that number 3 in your points that you mentioned is mentorship, which I think is a huge part of success in anything you do. Tell us about the mentorship program that you said. I don't know if you have a mentorship program or you just mentor personally, but tell us about that and how that does impact the way you do business.
Yeah. So we don't have a formal program. I mentor a number of football players from my high school, my hometown, and they're in different schools, UCLA, Oregon, and Boise and whatnot. And so whenever I go to Boise, I called one of the players, say, hey, you're gonna ride with me for the day. We're gonna go look at property. But also it's a number of youth. A few people through Nate and Movement B. Some of his youth I've been able to engage with and talk to him and coach him through real estate. A lot of friends. My house has become a mentorship hub.
Nice.
So I used to have people come over and we talk shop and say, hey, if you want to come play cash flow, if you want to come and talk business, I'm always open doors. As long as I'm in town.
So you all play the cash flow game?
We do.
Oh,
We do
that's
love that
nice,
game.
man.
Like I remember Nate invited me to a cash flow game. I was like, "What is this cash flow game?" I didn't know it was at your house.
Or maybe in Deshaun's house. So it's those guys are pretty sharp in the game. So you gotta be ready.
Yeah,
You gotta be ready to play.
You talking about Deshaun Cunningham?
Yeah.
Get
Big
some
Al
practice.
and-
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Big Al invited me to a session too. I almost
Yeah.
forgot about
That's
Yeah,
what
that.
they do.
You have to be ready.
Hey.
Deshaun and I have been kicking the tires of getting our spouses together and playing some cash flow. So it's fun. It's a blueprint. So I think the mentorship could happen in fun environments like playing cash flow. We don't have to go to the club. We don't have to do all this stuff. We just say, come over. Let's cook some good food. Bring your family over. Let's play some cash flow. Let's look at deals, and that's been my comfort level and my enjoyment is to be able to have that fun at my house and have.
I love it.
That's
I love
nice
it.
though.
Yeah.
But that's that what we call just in the honoring the late Kobe Bryant, that Mamba mentality. You got to
Absolutely.
actually practice, and make it fun too.
Yes.
You know, if you're passionate about something, you got to practice.
Right.
So
I mean, I'm so
yeah.
passionate. My 4-year-old daughter knows what a mixed-use development is. She's
Ooh.
like, Dad, that's a hotel development. That's an office building. And I'm like, she gets it.
But that
She gets it.
that is so important.
Hey.
Because I was talking to a client yesterday, and we were discussing income and getting along. He's like, I don't show my income, because of this or that. But I said, well, what do you do? Like, what do you do? He's like, I do this, I do that, I do this, do that. I said, what made you get into it? He said, yeah, my dad told me at a young age that, so you really want to make some money, you want to get into real estate, you want to get into investments, you want to get into this and that. He said, I just did it. And it's just like, wow. Compared to a lot of youth, especially, if they grew up in, a hard situation, it's like, I just need you to get a job with benefits.
Yeah.
And it seems like the path of becoming wealthy, because it seems like that's a lot of people's goals, we go about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And not saying every way is the same, but, we really look at it as you go to college and you get a student loan, build up all this debt, and we get into a career or a subject or a study or a major that doesn't really produce a lot of income, and now our debt exceeds what we make, and now we're just trying to figure it all out to
Yeah.
make sure that I'm just trying to survive, and then let alone try to purchase a house and then try to purchase investment properties. It's like you're just so bombarded with what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that if you look back, say, man, if I just started at this point in my life when I was young and just focus on being wealthy and make the mistakes earlier on and this and that, then I'll probably be better off I'll be in a better space today. Yeah. But the good thing is that since you're listening to the show, you're alive, and you have opportunity to do that now.
Yep.
So kind of speak about, that path that people aren't taking and that they should be taking to get them to where they need to go to.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, number one, fear. Number two is, you got to believe, you got to have your faith. And what I mean by that is you got to trust the process. And there's if you really look at it, it's there are a lot of people own houses, right? And so don't look at it as like it's a big achievement, like it's a big hurdle. The main thing is just, protect your credit. Even if you have bad credit, I've been through a market crash. My credit was wrecked, and I rebuilt it. And I said, look, you could start. What's your worst case? You're going to be right back to where you're at today. So that's your worst case. So if you can accept your worst case, where if I go strive to be successful or go buy a bunch of property, whatever you plan on doing, and then if you fail, you're right back where you are today. So how can it get any worse? Number one. So what do you have to lose? We don't have anything to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is, what does your life look like when you own your own house? When you can, do things that others couldn't do. And you don't have to worry about rent increases and rent control and all that because you own your own property. And number three is just be patient. Like, don't be patient, understand the market. Like right now, values are high. So if you're buying, you can afford it. He can afford it. And if you're barely making it, be patient.
Yeah.
The opportunities will come. And if you just be really patient, study the market. Like I'm studying the market right now. I understand airline stocks are low. I'm going to buy. And just looking at different things right now and just being patient about it, but also being a student. Like when I'm holding my 1-year-old daughter and she's asleep, and I can't move because she'll wake up, on my phone I'm reading. I Google San Diego news. Read everything about San Diego, good, bad. I read everything. Fresno news, Boise news, Oakland news, Pittsburgh news. Every day I read the news all day long. I just look at the articles, keep up to date. Then I do real estate San Diego and just read everything I get my hands on. And it's really read. It's just reading, understanding what's going on, and just taking all that information in. So therefore, I know. So when a deal comes in front of me, there's a deal in Boise came in front of me, and I knew right away. This office building is 23,000 square feet. No one wants to buy it. It's been sitting on the market for a year. I'm going to buy it because I'm going to convert it to apartments because everyone else getting mad. If you build apartments there, you're going to get sued because it's too expensive. You're displacing people. If you build affordable, people say, oh, the city doesn't have money. Well, I'm building workforce housing. So when I present my project, they're going to love me because like this guy, because I understand Boise better than most of my brokers in Boise. I understand my markets. When I go to Pittsburgh, I understand it most brokers in Pittsburgh. So I really study my craft, and I want to get better at it. Even my dad, he's not buying commercial, he's buying houses. But if you ask my dad anything about Detroit or Canton, Ohio, or Palmdale, he'll tell you. And he's buying just $30,000 homes and $100,000 condos. That's it. And my dad will tell you he knows the inside and out. He knows where a grocery store opening up in Detroit. He's the Detroit tour master, right? And so he understands everything about Detroit. And because I learned that, I guess I learned it from my dad, is like he studied his craft. He understood it. And if you study your craft, take care of your credit, and just focus, you can do anything you want. And it can start with a $100,000 property. It can start with $1 million commercial property.
And maybe you can confirm this right before we go off the air. I think you were at the same meeting, KRAP meetings.
Yeah.
And the person who was presenting said, too many people worry when it comes to investing in real estate. He said, too many people worry about finding the money. He said, don't even worry about that. He said, just learn to find the right deal.
Yes.
Once you find the right deal, that money will show up.
Yep.
Right.
You have to make some phone calls, and you may not know who to contact, but contact one person, maybe direct you to the right person, but just find the right deal, and the money will come.
And post it on social media nowadays.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I raised $200,000 for a deal on social media. I just posted something, and some guy, a friend attorney, called me and said, "Hey, I want to invest $200,000," and I had no idea. And we met for 5 minutes. He didn't want to talk to me. He's like, "Dimitri, it's okay. I see what you're doing. It's okay." And I was like, "This is weird."
And just keep in mind, this is San Diego. San Diego's a different animal. You can find the money. If the right deal is out there, trust me, you put it out there, the money will come. You know, it's just a different way of doing business out here. But yeah, it's very true. Very true.
We have less than a minute before our show goes off the air, but kind of let our listeners know what you have planning coming up in the near future, in any events, any way. If you want them to get in contact with you, how the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to contact me is email, Dimitri Booker, DEMETRE Booker, BOOKER @gmail.com. Just keeping it simple with my personal email. Phone number 661-547-9567. Website elevatesmg.com. And my big plans for the next 12 months, I want to buy 500 more mobile home lots, 150,000 square feet of flex industrial. But more importantly, I want to really dig back and help our faith-based institutions and churches and nonprofits grow their platforms and build their economic development teams or their CDCs. So that's a big thing of my goal list this year, is to help a number of in San Diego grow and be self-sufficient.
Man, brother, I'm so glad you came here. Thank you, Terrell, for bringing Dimitri.
Anytime.
Yes.
I'm just glad our paths met. Social media, where can they follow you?
On Instagram, D Booker Jr.
Yep, that's where you get to
So
see
let's
all
give
the
it up
knowledge.
for our guest,
Give it up to
Dimitri.
Dimitri.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you
You
very
listen
much.
to Let's Talk About It. We'll see you next week.